Well, hello and good evening, folks, to another episode of 162 Times, your daily baseball recap and preview show. I'm your host, Daniel Turner. It's great to be with you here on a Wednesday night. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm currently looking at the Mariners' roster moves, and there's been a lot of them in June, and there's a number of them. But I noticed that they placed Dylan Moore on the paternity list on June 6th. So congrats, Dylan. That's awesome. I guess your partner had a child. So right on, brother. And there's a bunch of other things, but I just thought I'd mention that off the top. We'll also talk about how the Mariners recalled left-handed pitcher Jonathan Diaz to start in last night's game in place of Brian Wu. And then they optioned him back to Tacoma the very next day, even though he pitched well, as we will see in our first segment of this show where we recap last night's action. We'll, of course, also talk about Game 3, which is currently just underway from Seattle. This is Game 3 of 4 in the series that Seattle is playing at home against the Chicago White Sox. And we'll, of course, go around the majors from a fairly busy Tuesday and check in how the other teams that play in Major League Baseball did. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. Let's dive right into it. Paternity list be damned. And talk about how the Mariners won 4-3 last night. Way to go, boys. Another win. It's really good. Mariners moved to 39-30 with the victory. Still first in the American League West. White Sox dropped to 17-51. Dead last in the American League Central they are. But their logo is still pretty sweet, eh? I do like their unis. They were wearing their road grays last night, and I think those are a fabulous road uniform. And you know what? The White Sox played pretty well in some respects. They had 10 hits last night for 3 runs. Gave up 2 errors, though. That's never very good. Mariners, on the other hand, only 5 hits, but they scored 4 runs, and they committed 1 error themselves. I think I'll do this off the top, but both teams struck out 8 times, so good for the Mariners, keeping it under double digits. The starters were not involved in the final decisions, but both of them pitched well. Ultimately, it was reliever Trent Thornton for the Mariners who got the win, his second of the year. He's now 2-1, 3.41 ERA. The losing pitcher was John Brebbia of the White Sox. He's now 0-4 with a 6.38 ERA. Kids, that's not what you want your win-loss record and your ERA to look like if you ever become a major league pitcher. The save went to Ryan Stanek, his 5th of the year now. Munoz is still sort of recovering from that back issue that he suffered against Oakland, so we haven't seen him much, and certainly not in the late innings. Stanek was an 8th-inning guy with the Astros last year, quite devastating. And I think he's been good this year. He's probably the Mariners' best reliever who's healthy right now, so we hope for him to continue doing well. The bullpen is still a big question mark for me overall for the Mariners. Anyway, that was his 5th save of the year. He's 4.21 on the ERA. Thus far this year. We'll get to the scoring and why Cal Raleigh is still my favorite player in a minute, but in terms of the starting pitching lines, so Jonathan Diaz, Jonathan with the JH to start his name, by the way. He pitched 5 1/3 innings, gave up 9 hits, okay, but only 3 runs, 3 earned runs, just 1 walk, and he struck out 4. He did give up 2 home runs, but again, only 3 earned runs. He did all that in 82 pitches. His counterpart was Drew Thorpe, making his first major league start. And the kid looked good. Like, he looked the part. Like, dude is jacked. Mechanics looked really good. Some stellar fielding. Just, like, really, like, I don't know if folks have seen the show The Wire, but Marlo Stanfield and his crew, when they're recruiting youngins in, like, season 4 or 5, then they meet Michael, and they like him, obviously, and then later they say good signs on him, and then Chris is like, what, like big paws on the pup, and Marlo's like, yeah, something like that. So anyway, Drew Thorpe, big paws on the pup, like he looks like he's going to be a good pitcher. Anyway, he went 5 innings in his first major league start, gave up 3 hits, only 2 runs, only 1 of them earned, 2 walks, 4 Ks, no home runs given up. His ERA is now 1.8. Congrats, dude. White Sox bullpen did okay. They held on for a bit. Anderson, 2/3 of an inning, 1 walk, 2 Ks, no runs given up. Banks, 1 inning, 1 run, 1 walk, 1 K. Brebbia, loss in the blown save. In a third of an inning, he gave up 2 hits, a run, an earned run, and 1 strikeout. And then they had Mr. Hill come on. Is this former Mariner? No, it's Tim Hill. So he did a clean inning, but the damage had already been done. On the Mariners side, in terms of their bullpen report, Trent Thornton, who got the win, so he pitched 5 outs. He did an inning and 2/3. Zeros on the board except for 2 Ks, so an excellent outing by Trent. Then it was Matt Baumann, who did 2/3 of an inning, gave up 1 hit, struck out 1. Saucedo came in, did a third of an inning, the lefty. He struck out the only batter he faced. And then Ryan Stanek came in for a 1-inning save, and he had zeros across the board in his line. So all in all, pretty good. Mariners did give up 10 hits, but most of them were by Diaz. Diaz doesn't throw very hard. He's got a sneaky sort of lefty curveball, and every once in a while he hung it, and he got punished for hanging the curve. But the White Sox are not that great. They couldn't capitalize. Overall, they were 3 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Actually, that's not that bad, and they left 7 on base. The Mariners were 2 for 11, and they also... No, sorry, I got that mixed up. So the White Sox were 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position, and they left 7 on base. The Mariners also left 7 on base, but they were 3 for 7 with runners in scoring position, which is superior, and they also had a couple 2-out RBI situations, whereas the White Sox had way more runners left in scoring position with 2 outs situations, and more grounded into double plays. So that might be the reason why they weren't able to finish off the Mariners. But just like on Monday night, the White Sox got out to an early lead. So it was old Mariners pain in the butt, Martin Maldonado, longtime Houston Astros catcher. He singled, scoring Paul DeJong in the top of the second. In the bottom of the second, it's a guy who I'm really glad to see hitting the ball well, Mitch Garver, doubling, scoring Luke Raley to tie the game, 1-1 after 2. Top of 3, Andrew Vaughn, solo shot off Diaz, 2-1 White Sox at that point. Then it was Paul DeJong going back-to-back and hitting a home run himself off Diaz. That was when he was hanging that curveball a little bit. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that was the first time I'd seen hitters go back-to-back off Mariners starting pitching this season. I correct me if I'm wrong, the 12 people who listen to the show. Not to disrespect those 12, don't worry. You guys are all right. But yeah, I might look that up at some point, but I'm not going to do it right now. Anyway, it's been rare. Mariners pitching has been good this year. They haven't given a lot of back-to-back jacks. So, okay, whatever. 3-1 Chicago. Bottom of 3, Cal Raleigh doubled and scored Julio Rodriguez. Cal Raleigh is an absolute gem. It's his 6th double of the year. Then bottom of 7, this was when Clutch Cal really came to play. He doubled in the bottom of 7th to score Josh Rojas and Julio Rodriguez in a very clutch situation, making it 4-3. Another late inning 2-out situation where you got runners in scoring position and you got to cash them in. And in the Mariners' case, if you need that to happen lately, it's been Cal Raleigh. All season it's been Cal Raleigh, but think about it. The game against the Royals that they won, it was Cal getting the 5th and 6th RBI of the game to ensure their victory. Last night, of course, he had the walk-off grand slam, and then, or the night before that, he had the walk-off grand slam, and then game 2, which was last night, he had the late inning double to win the game for the Mariners. So just really, really awesome. His line at the end of the night was 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Julio was 1 for 4 with 2 runs scored. That's nice to see. Mitch Garver was 1 for 2 with 2 walks and a run batted in. His average is now up to 179. So, you'd like to see that. They pinch hit for Dom Canzone fairly early in the game, and Tyler Locklear did the pinch hitting. He ended up being 0 for 2. A lot of good things I saw from the Mariners. The error for the Mariners came on a pickoff attempt by Baumann, so you're not too worried about that. On the White Sox side, it was Nicky Lopez on a fielding error and Lenin Sosa with a throwing error, which are just worse errors to commit, if you ask me. It's hard to make a pickoff move stick. You often throw it away. I'm not going to be too worried if a guy does that. Probably learn from it and not do it too much. So before we get to tonight's action in segment 2, let's just recap some of the transactions that have happened over the last little while. So the other night, I mentioned that Leo Rivas pinch ran for Mitch Haniger, and that was in exchange for Demo, who they put on the paternity list. So they called up Rivas from Tacoma to cover Demo. They also recalled Eduard Bazardo from the Rainiers, the right-handed reliever. They sent back down Diaz after having recalled him on June 11th. They sent him back down on June 12th. As I mentioned on the show yesterday, two guys who appeared in last night's game, Matt Bauman and Kermie Sneed, were DFA'd post-haste right afterwards. And then the final move, other than optioning left-hander Diaz, who started last night's game, back to Tacoma, they recalled right-handed reliever Brett DeGus, who featured in early season action when the Mariners were struggling. So, you know, I'm a little, I don't know how to describe it, but like the Mariners bullpen right now, you know, they got Andres Munoz, Ryan Stanek, Trent Thornton, Austin Voth or Voth, Saucedo, Bauman. They brought back up Bazardo and DeGus to round it out, but like they're missing Spires on the 15-day IL, lefty. I like Spire. Gregory Santos has been on the injured list all year. Haven't seen him once. And Matt Brash, sadly, has been on the injured list all year as well. Matt Brash, who was just outstanding last year. So if Mooney is actually back, then that bullpen, you know, is bolstered. But that's looking a little bit weak. Whereas their starting rotation, I mean, is just disgusting. It's Castillo, Kirby, Gilbert, Miller, and Wu. You know, just tremendous. And obviously, Wu maybe just got an extra night off, and that's why they brought Diaz up. I mean, judging by the fact that they sent Diaz back down right away, probably means that, you know, Wu just needed a little bit more rest. I'm also really liking what I'm seeing out of Ryan Bliss at second base, and I think Josh Rojas has cemented his place as the third baseman on this team. His defense has been outstanding, and his hitting has been really good all season. So I want to see Jorge Polanco come back off the injured list, because they signed him in the offseason to be a power-hitting second baseman, and he could be. It's great to see Mitch Garver coming around. Ty France was playing, I thought, really good baseball, so I'd like to see him back in the lineup. But if Tyler Locklear, you know, plays well, then his power bat and his defense can be good. And I like Luke Raley in the outfield, so that makes space for Luke. But that's that. All right. Less speculation, more action from tonight. So let's just quickly go through who we got on the hill. So I had this all down and then it's completely escaped my mind, which is funny. Right. So the White Sox have a pitcher tonight whose last name is Cannon, which is a great name for a pitcher when you think about it. And his name is Jonathan Cannon. And he has a funny-looking face, and he's only 23 years old. He's from Georgia. He's 0-1 on the year in his only career start with a 5.6 ERA and a 1.53 WHIP. Not super strong. He will be facing off against Bryce Big Tex Miller, who is 5-5 this season with a 3.72 ERA. He started 14 games. He struck out 74 batters in 71.1 innings, and his WHIP is 1.01. We like Bryce. We want him to continue to do well. We think he will do well. If people can't hit his fastball, then he's really, really hard to face. In terms of who Bryce will be facing, the White Sox are rolling out a slightly different lineup from previous nights in this series. So it'll be Nicky Lopez, second baseman, leading off. Andrew Vaughn batting second, playing first base. Gavin Sheets back in the lineup, DHing and batting third. Paul DeJong will clean up and play shortstop. Then there's a fellow we haven't seen yet, Colas. Oscar Colas will play center field and bat fifth. Zach Deloche, right field, batting sixth. Lenine Sosa, third base, batting seventh. Corey Julks, left field, batting eighth. And then Corey Lee, the catcher tonight, he will bat ninth. The Mariners, for their part, will be rolling out the following lineup. So it'll be J.P. Crawford leading off and playing shortstop. Josh Rojas will play third base and bat second. Julio Rodriguez will be in center field, batting third. Cal Raleigh will be behind the plate doing the catching. He will also bat fourth. Luke Raley's in left field, batting fifth. Mitch Garver will DH and bat sixth. Dominic Canzone will be in right field, batting seventh. Tyler Locklear will start at first base and bat eighth. And Ryan Bliss will start again at second and round out the order in the 9 spot. So I look forward to watching the rest of this matchup. We're in the second inning right now. I won't spoil any scores for you. But actually, there are no scores in the game thus far. In terms of the final segment of the show where we bring it on home and talk about how things went around the majors on Tuesday, I honestly haven't looked too closely yet. So we'll just focus on what I believe to be target games for the Mariners. So first things first, the Dodgers spanked the Texas Rangers 15-2. Dodgers had 14 hits, and it was former Mariner and Canadian James Paxton getting his 6th win of the season against Dane Dunning in LA. Good for them. The Astros beat the Giants. Okay, whatever. 3-1. Too bad. The Padres 4, the Athletics 3, and the Diamondbacks 9, and the Angels 4. So in the division, only the Astros and the Mariners won. So I'll take that. Don't like the Astros winning, but I'll take that. The Blue Jays, 3-0 winners over the Milwaukee Brewers. That was Yusei Kikuchi getting the win. The Yankees beat up on the Royals. Second night in a row they've won. That was a 10-1 victory for the Yankees. Marcus Stroman, his 6th win of the year in that one. The Twins lost to the Rockies 5-4. So if the Mariners somehow do not finish first in the American League West, the Twins will be a rival for the final wildcard spot in the American League. Thus, them losing is a good thing for Seattle. The Phillies 4, the Red Sox 1. The Marlins 4, the Mets 2. The Nationals 5, the Detroit Tigers 4. The Tampa Bay Rays 5, the Cubbies 2. The Cleveland Guardians 5, the Cincinnati Reds 3. The Baltimore Orioles 4, and the Atlanta Braves 0. That rounds things out from Tuesday night. So all in all, I'd say a fairly positive game for the Mariners and their playoff chances. The Twins and the Royals losing is good. The Tigers losing, I guess, is good. That Tigers, I think, are a decent team this year. Anyhow, lots of fun. Lots of fun to be had tonight by watching this game. So I encourage you all to tune in. And otherwise, we'll speak tomorrow. We'll be back at it with another episode before you know it. Anyway, thanks as always for listening, and talk to you later.